Namaskar, Harvani ji. Thank you for inviting me to be part of your program. I landed in Denmark exactly 3 years ago to the day. It was the 19th of March 2021. As you rightly said, it was in the midst of the raging COVID-19 pandemic. And it was also a very harsh winter, and I was a bit uncertain what to expect. And I spent the early days getting to know very important stakeholders in the India-Denmark relationship, which has been the Indian community in Denmark. When I came, there were about 16,471, I think was the exact number, of Indian citizens and persons of Indian origin in Denmark. Today we have about 21,500. And all I can say is that it's a fantastic community. It's a community that I have personally enjoyed interacting with and learned a lot from. And they are very important stakeholders in the India-Denmark relationship as professionals, as scientists, as ICT people, as financial people working in big companies, working in government here as well. So it's been an excellent interaction and a learning experience for me. It's always a joint effort. I think I've been fortunate to be in Denmark at the right time, so the right place at the right time. And we've had three visits at the highest levels. So Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen was the first head of state or government to be invited to India post-COVID. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji paid a historic visit to Denmark in May 2022. And it was again a bilateral visit after 2 decades. And it also saw the second Indian-Nordic summit. So we had the heads of government, the prime ministers of the 5 Nordic countries congregate in Copenhagen to see him. And then we had the royal visit as well last year to India by the now king and queen. So it's been a period of unprecedented activity, and it's been made possible by the personal equation of the two prime ministers, of Prime Minister Modi with Prime Minister Frederiksen. They really have imparted great momentum to this relationship. And Harvani ji, you were there for the visit. You saw it was historic in every way. And it was historic because, of the few visits that Prime Minister made in his second term to Europe. This was a visit which was done alongside visits to Germany and France, which are two traditional big partners in Europe. And I think it was important that Denmark was included in the same trip. I think the kind of interest that was shown by the Danish side, Prime Minister Frederiksen was on the tarmac to receive Prime Minister, and for the first time, I was told in the history of Denmark, the State Council meeting had been postponed on that day because Prime Minister Frederiksen had been there to receive PM Modi. It was special because I think it set our relationship, the relationship between India and Denmark, on a completely different plane, on a trajectory which I think in many ways is extraordinary. So that is why it was historic. And also, I think the Indian community made it very, very special. I called on Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen yesterday, and she actually said that I will never forget that event that the Indian community hosted for Prime Minister Modi, where I joined in. And she said, he's a true rock star. And the Indian community in Denmark is so great, and we are so happy to have them. Yes, absolutely. Visits are high points. The work is done on an everyday basis. And then the visits are used to highlight some of the aspects. So we had some important agreements in water, in green shipping, in dairying, in startups, and of course the cultural exchange program as well during the Honorable Prime Minister's visit. But before that and after that too, I think we have had some very important initiatives and agreements. Let me start with trade and investment, which in the last 3 years have expanded at the fastest ever pace. Our trade was roughly $3.5 billion. And by 2022, at the end of 2022, it was $6.64 billion. So that's a near doubling of trade in a period of 2 to 3 years. Investment is also at a historic high. Danish investment in India is now upwards of $1.8 billion, touching the 2 billion mark, whereas Indian investment in Denmark has also risen to over 700 million and heading towards the $1 billion mark. So there have been massive improvements and enhancement of collaboration. And in terms of agreements, one notable agreement which was signed last month between External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankarji and Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen in Delhi was a migration and mobility partnership agreement, which will be a game changer in terms of making it easier for Indian talent across many sectors to come to Denmark, and it will help plug Denmark's labor gaps. Well, His Majesty the King is a very gracious person. He very much enjoyed his visit to India, which was very productive.
He's king now.
He is king, yes, of course. He,
During the visiting of
yes,
kings.
at that time he was the crown prince, yes. And I called on him. I had an audience with him on Friday, and he was very fondly remembering his visit to India and how it was special in so many ways in the terms of what they saw, what they discussed, and the experiences. And I can only say that Denmark is very fortunate to have a young, dynamic, and very considerate and caring head of state who's well trained for the role with his great experience in diplomacy and in military service over the years. And he is greatly supported and partnered by Her Majesty Queen Mary, who also traveled to India and was equally wonderful and makes a great queen for Denmark. I think one of the efforts that I have made from the time I've been here is to enhance knowledge about India, the real India. What happened here, I think, was twofold. One was that interest in India was perhaps limited. And the second was that very often information on what was happening in India was taken from secondary sources, from certain Western media groups. And we have tried to engage. I've given a number of interviews myself. We've done background briefings to try and explain what the real India is. I think a lot more Danish journalists have now traveled to India, and we have seen better coverage, more balanced coverage of India, and I hope the trend continues. I'm just heading out to a big event which we are hosting to mark the 75th anniversary of India-Denmark relations, which is this year. Just last month, our foreign ministers launched a beautiful logo. You're joining for that event. You will see it's a beautiful heart-shaped logo with the flag colors of both countries and the national flowers, which are symbolic of the good relations that we have. But the theme of today's event, in fact, is a partnership for the future. And that is precisely what the India-Denmark relationship is. You know, India is one of the most important countries on the planet currently in terms of being the world's largest democracy, in terms of being the fifth largest economy, soon to be the third largest as early as 2027, in terms of being the fastest growing big economy with average growth rates projected at about 7% per annum, and alone accounting for at least 16% of global growth. At the same time, Denmark is a growing superpower. It also has great capabilities in cutting edge futuristic areas from quantum computing to biotech and so much else. And I think there is a beautiful synergy that we have and that we are working towards, which will make this a defining partnership for the future. Despite our difference in size, I think our values are similar, and I think our goals are similar. And I think together, whether it is to the green transition, whether it is to climate sustainability, and whether it is to more inclusive growth, I think we can do a lot together. And that is what we are working towards. In terms of visits as well, we expect the momentum to be maintained with visits at the highest level. Well, I would like to say, as the Honorable Prime Minister said when he visited Denmark and when he met the Indian community at Bella Center, he said, "Aap sab Rashtradoot hain." And every Indian in Denmark has been a great Rashtradoot. They have represented India very well. They have done a lot for India, as they have done for Denmark. And they have merged and integrated well with the local Danish community while maintaining their Indianness. I can only compliment them on all this and say continue the good work. I even want to put in a good work for the Indians who visit. I was recently at Frederiksberg Castle, and the director there said, "You know, our favorite tourists are Indian tourists." And I said, "How's that?" She said, "Because they're so well behaved, they're so polite, there isn't a language barrier, and we'd like to see more of them." And I hear very similar things about the Indian community from all my Danish interlocutors, whether it's the Danish government or it's businesses. So it's a community that I personally am very proud of and India is proud of. So what I would say is keep doing the great work that you're all doing. It's noted and it's well appreciated. All the best. Namaskar. Thank you so much, Harvani ji. And thank you for all your efforts and everything you do.
The floor booking.
Thank you.
India, Denmark at 75, the partnership for future.
Items of Danish industry, such as Novo Nordisk, Maersk, Carlsberg, Danfoss, Grundfos, Halder Topsoe, Rambo, Provi, Vestas, Ellenwind, etc., as well as to the Indian giants such as L&T, TCS, Infosys, Tech Mahindra, Oyo, etc. That there are about 200 Danish companies active in India.
Today, but in his absence, I'm very happy to take his place, especially since I have India fresh in my memory after a very recent visit. Together with the Danish Parliament's Education and Research Committee, I went to Delhi to meet with some of our science and innovation partners.